Yeah, dude. So you review movies for a living, and I think
Yeah.
it's super rad. Like, not a lot of people hear that kind of career. So like, how do you explain that to people when they ask like, "Hey, what do you do?"
I just say I work at Walmart. I just it's so much easier. Dude, I've had so many over the past years, family members like the girlfriend's like parents, because that's the biggest concern. So, what do you do for a living? Well, I talk about movies online, or you can give the pretentious answer of I'm a content creator.
Ooh,
Yeah, a content creator.
I will
Uh,
never say that.
no,
Or
I know.
influencer. I
I
hate
know.
that
I
word.
don't say it either. It makes me cringe inside as well. But yeah, it's always a conversation. If you're like an architect or a teacher, you can just say that, and they're like, okay. But saying you make videos online, they're like, you can make money doing that. Then you have to explain it, and you explain the process, and 25 minutes later, they're still a little bit confused by it.
Hmm.
So yeah, at this point, I just lie or simplify it as much as I actually, the smartest thing I should say, I should just say I work in advertising, because that's really what it all boils down to. That's how you make any money on YouTube anymore, is just advertising. So yeah, I work in advertising. That sounds better. I'll put that on my LinkedIn now.
Yeah, do that. I'm a filmmaker. That's usually what I tell people. But like, I
Yeah.
remember when I had to explain it to my grandma, she was like, "So do you have like a 401k or anything?" And I'm like, "No, not really."
Yeah, very few people do these days, grandma. Yeah, you can get one though. I've
I
looked
can,
in.
but
Yeah.
I shouldn't.
No, no, no. Yeah, it's crazy. That's just the gamble you have to take to do what you
Mm.
love. You don't get that that backup plan, but that kind of drives you almost in a way. Like, you don't have the stock options with your company, or the health insurance, or the 401k, but you're doing what you love, right? So,
Oh, absolutely.
and that's the price I'm willing to pay. If I get old and I get sick, well, I guess I'll just die. So, or I'll be really
No,
poor. Uh,
but I think your title's really interesting because like everybody loves movies, but not a lot of people I guess love it enough to be like I'm going to dedicate an entire channel to it. So like how did you get started? Like did you just wake up one day and you're like, "You know what? I love movies and I like talking about them with my friends. I should just about it in front of a camera."
yeah. Well, I started my channel back in like 2010, and I had like one or two friends that they liked movies. They could have a conversation about movies, but they weren't as nerdy or as into it as I was.
Mhm.
And I remember watching a few YouTube channels about like dudes who went out, bought movies, talked about movies, and just sort of shared their lifestyle. And at the time, I was like, that's what I'm doing. Like, that's exactly what I'm doing. And I was like, it kind of a light bulb flickered in my brain. And I was like, I can record that. Okay. So I'll do that. And I've always been into making videos since I was a kid or teenager. In my teenager years, we used to make like these jackass wannabe videos and just have fun with a video camera. And I try to make it but I always had an eye for the way I wanted things to look and film, and making things look cooler than they actually were. So yeah, I remember back in 2010, just like buying this cheap flip cam, and it was like $200. It's If you don't know what a flip cam is, they're like this all-inclusive little junky square box that looks like a cell phone camera from 2003. And I started making my videos like that, and I started talking about movies and taking it with me. And yeah, I don't. I think I just wanted a connection with people, right? I was like, I want to make videos that I would want to watch,
Mhm.
and that's more or less how I started. As far as like growing into something I could do for a living, uh, it took like 3 or 4 years, and it somehow just magically happened. I got enough of a following, and then I started making a little bit of money, and then I remember I had a really crappy job, and I worked in a cubicle, and I was delivering pizzas part
Oh no.
time as well, and I got fired from like the pizza job randomly because I had too many points on my license. Yeah, whatever. Screw you, Papa John's. You don't know. Just because I wanted to get the pizzas there on time and I got speeding tickets, I get punished for it. But then I quit my cubicle job because that was just soul stealing. So yeah, and then I remember quitting those jobs and barely like making enough money and like living off of a credit card for like 6 months to pay some bills. And then one day I somehow just made enough money that month. And then the next month I made a little bit more, and the next month I made a little bit more, and I'm like, whoa, I'm doing this full time now. And then it went from there, and that was maybe 2013, 2014 where I was able to do it full time.
Dude, that's rad. And
Yeah.
um, I worked at a office job too, and I freaking hated it. And
Oh, it's so
then one
terrible.
day I was like, or my friend asked me, he was like, "Hey, you want to come live with me in Atlanta?" And I was like, "Yes, please get me out of here." So,
Yeah.
what was that like transition like for you?
The office. Well, I worked in this tiny little cubicle, and I always remember looking outside the window at the dudes like doing lawn care work and like putting mulch around the trees, and I'm in my cubicle in my air conditioned little office, and I'm like, I would give anything to be one of those guys down there right now. Like they're just like out there in the sun, like living life. So I remember like the next day, I just went in and I was like, I don't want to be here anymore. I'm done. So then I left, and then doing YouTube full time after that was it's once again going back to the thing, like it's almost overwhelming sometimes because what you can do is almost unlimited, and then you kind of get stuck on something because you want to perfect it and make it just right, and then by overthinking something you end up never doing it.
Hmm.
So but doing YouTube's awesome because you get to make your own hours, you talk about what you want more or less. But it's also like terrifying because you never know what's going to happen day to day, and you just hope that YouTube, doesn't shut down or your account doesn't get deleted or something. You just hope. The biggest fear is, if I make a video, will people watch it? That's always my biggest fear. Yeah.
I think another interesting thing about your YouTube journey is like you kind of came up in like the I'll call it the angry reviewer stage, where it felt like everybody like wanted to just like shit on films all day.
Yeah.
And but like people like you came in and you have this like really cool, quirky, positive attitude, and you like make jokes, and it's like endearing to see somebody like you like review a movie instead of, I mean, sure, you crap on movies a lot, but like Countdown, you said that was your number one worst movie. But like what was that like whenever you first started your channel and you were like, you know what, I'm not just gonna be a channel that just craps on everything.
Yeah, well, I do have the thing with me was I just had like a lot of dark comedy, especially starting out, a lot of weird dark comedy, and I feel like 90% of people probably would not want they'd be kind of like they shy away from it, but the 10% that liked it loved it, right? Like, and that's where I built like a niche. But yeah, I always just wanted to show what I was doing. I just wanted to say, here's some really, like, even if I had a bad movie, right? I bought a bad movie, it's terrible, but here's what I like about it, or I bought it for the sake of because it's fun, or something along those lines. And I just really try to make my stuff more with my entire YouTube channel. I always wanted to make it more about like my personal connection, and make it personable, and the lifestyle of watching a movie, not just here's the movie. Like I wanted to make the YouTube channel about me, not just movies. Movies are the backdrop, but really I wanted my personality to be like the focus point.
That's awesome. And that like you really shine in that area. So like a lot of movie reviewers, they want like the movie to shine, so like, it builds up their channel. But that's what's interesting about people like you. You're like, hey, I think I'm fun to watch, so hear me talk about a movie.
Yeah, I always thought it was sort of like future proofing, especially with times like right now. If you're a
Mhm.
channel and you sort of just are this like guy and you talk about the newest movie and you give your review, you're in, you're out. Well, like right now, there's no new movies to talk about. So what's your backup plan? What can you make a video about just walking around Walmart talking about nothing? Or do you need that newest topical movie to rely on? And I did not want to rely on that. I just wanted to be able to walk into Walmart, ride a child's bicycle around and make a few jokes, and that could be a video. And it has been many videos. So
Yeah, and I've seen the comments on some of your videos, and it's like I could watch John walk around Walmart for hours.
and dude, that is the best compliment I can ever get.
That's so funny. And
Yeah.
what's your affinity with Walmart? Why do you love going to Walmart specifically?
It's the closest thing I have to an alien planet. Okay. I feel like an explorer when I'm in Walmart. Anything can happen. The limitations of Walmart are endless. There's just so many things in there. Like it has movies, it has food, it has like toys, it has props, it has weird people. It just, and the lighting's pretty good too. So you can just film unlimited videos in Walmart as opposed to like walking around a neighborhood on a sidewalk. There's just
Yeah.
sometimes in a video, if I don't have a lot to say, I pick up something, I interact with something, and that gives me some content. So yeah, I think that's my thing with Walmart. And plus, it's open all night, or it used to be until like COVID. But yeah, it's open all night. You can go anytime, and it's convenient.